Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Art of Learning Self-Love. In today's class, we're going to talk about ultimate self-care. And what does that look like to you? So I want to share a little bit about the last 2 weeks of my life. I had a situation at work where I realized when a coworker and a customer came walking up, they were laughing and joking and having a good time, but they were talking about music. And, music is my thing. I love music. Music has set me free in so many different areas of my life. So it caught my attention. But what really caught my attention was the fact that apparently there was an overhead speaker playing music in the store, and I was completely oblivious. I had no idea there was music around me. And I love music. How can I miss something so big to me? I feel it. I can literally put my hand on the speaker and feel every vibration. I have learned more about sound in the world through vibration than anything else, through frequency. And it's allowed me to connect to people on a whole different level where most people haven't or aren't able to connect. And I didn't realize that it literally allowed me to open up different spaces in my mind to begin developing in totally different ways than anybody else. Because I've been doing it since I was a child. I was born this way. I was born with a hearing impairment that only allows me to hear 30% of the world. Now, the ultimate self-care and the purpose of that is finding those places in your life where you've neglected yourself as much as those who wounded you neglected you. We all have some form of space and place in our life that we hurt, that we're angry, that why couldn't they love me more? Why didn't they do this? Why couldn't they meet me where I was needed? To a 7-year-old little girl, which is who I was when I found out I was hearing impaired. And my parents didn't care to do anything about it because they didn't have the finances. That was how it was worded. For me, when I was 7, that meant I didn't matter. Something so important, something people were born with, I wasn't allowed to have. So here I was, being a child and being informed I wasn't worth it. Where did my self-love break? Probably around the same time or before, because of other circumstances that I endured. Why do we stop navigating ourselves and taking care of ourselves? It's because we weren't trained or taught to do so. So as you guys watch me stumble, now that my ears are dry enough, to put my new hearing aids in where I can actually hear everybody. So I haven't let anybody really talk yet because I want to hear you guys for the first time, really hear you, not just 30%. An amazing, it's overwhelming, actually. It makes me cry every time I hear something new because there's so many sounds in this world I've never heard before. I did not know that there were so many bird sounds. I've only heard a few birds in my life. Birds are everywhere and they're really loud. I found that out yesterday when I walked out of Miracle Air. I was like, whoa, he's right. Birds are everywhere. Even in a busy parking lot with all the noises I heard from all the cars. Wow. I'll tell you, it's definitely sensory overload, but it's worth it. And it's absolutely amazing. So while I'm sticking these silly things in my ears, greatest gift of my life, the gift of hearing. You guys will probably notice I'll go from being really loud to quiet because I didn't even hear my own self. I had no idea how loud I really was. So I'm sorry if you guys had to turn your mics down on me every time you guys hear me speak. I had no idea. So I actually want to everyone to go ahead and unmic, turn your mics on, and I would love to hear you guys actually for the first time say hello. So I can
Hi, Darla. Hi, Darla. You can hear my voice. I'm so excited. I love you so much. Yes, me too. I love you.
Hi, Darla.
Wow.
Hey, Darla.
Watching
Darla.
You all
bringing
are
tears to my
been
eyes.
amazing. And look, I have a great partner. He knows I'm going to get emotional today.
I am so happy for you, Darla.
Thank you.
So incredibly happy.
So let me tell you this little journey I had. About 2 weeks ago, I was at work. It was actually on a Tuesday, not last Tuesday, but Tuesday before. I was at work, and literally, just before I began recording, I was telling a little bit about my event at work. I had my coworker and a customer come walking up. I love music, and the subject they were talking about was a song, so it caught my attention. I began hearing what they were talking about, and they were laughing together, which people do when they're talking about something that's funny. And I happened to notice because they were within the earshot for me. But I heard they were talking about a song that was playing overhead. And I realized in that moment, in a holy instant, I couldn't hear it. And I love music. And I was sitting in a world where I wasn't hearing, because I was born with a birth defect that only allows me to hear 30% of the world around me. I've known that since I was 7. And I felt completely lost and alone in a world trying to navigate. I felt isolated. There was things happening and I couldn't comprehend. I struggled with learning. And it was things that people could have resolved, but chose that their limitation was not worth overcoming. So in the mix of that, what happened is at 7 years old, I felt like I wasn't worth it. I wasn't worth someone trying to allow me to have what everybody else has. So I felt neglected, I felt lost, I felt alone. And I spent my whole life in that lost and alone world. The sound of silence is something I can truly appreciate more than most of the world, because I've lived there a long time. Today's subject is about the ultimate self-care, because when I learned a couple weeks ago, that I couldn't hear the music above me, that I couldn't hear, I knew I was struggling. I always ask people to repeat themselves. I'm tired of chasing people down going, what did you just say? What is this? I do the extra for me, giving service and going the extra mile just was how I learned. It was just part of who I was meant to be. I was born with a condition that didn't allow me to understand as people are walking away. If I can't see your lips, I don't know what you're saying. I can actually hear today at only between 90 and 95%. It's too much, and it's going to take a couple weeks for me to adjust to actually coming to 100%. Because when we started testing yesterday, he backed me back down because noises were so abrupt that my eyes were bulging and my hands were up here. I was clenched because there was so much noise and it was so overwhelmed. So he had to back it down so that I can adjust. But going from 30% to 90% is huge. And it feels like I hear everything. Like the world is a really busy, loud space. And I had no clue. Like, I can't wait to go and see and hear some of the different things that are around the world, because there are things I could have felt instead of really hearing. And So I really account for feelings much more than the average person because I understand that feelings are felt in multiple ways. Where most of the world probably doesn't realize that not only are they dealing with the way that their mind processes that feeling and how it hurt, but how it actually resonates in the vibrations and the frequencies around them. So I tuned in long before I understood what I was tuning into. You know, when we hear Abraham Hicks and she talks about tune in, tap in, turn on to who you are. I love that because I was like, oh, that's all the frequency. That's it. That's right there. That's who I am. I'm all about that. I'm tuned in. I'm tapped in. I'm tapped in because I connect with people on a different level. It's not based off of what you're saying to me. It's based on what you're resonating off of you. And I pick up cues and signs and things from people. So I really have been paying attention much more than most. Not because I thought about it, but it was because it was important to. Lorraine, go ahead.
Well, you were talking about sensory overload and how you can hear everything now. And as you were talking about that, I was thinking, you kind of have a bonus now because you can have that world, but when things get to be too much, you can also shut it out so much more easily than anyone else can. So you are truly blessed.
Much more than I would have ever acknowledged before. You know, I when I talk about the struggle and the struggle was real, it really was. I mean, being in a world when you're only hearing 30%, you're getting in trouble for things that you're growing and developing because, oh, well, I didn't hear it. Oh, wait, why didn't you come to me when I called you? We all heard it when we were growing up. Somebody has gotten onto us at some point. But this was a constant for me. And I was like, I didn't hear you. And I was really in trouble for that. I was in trouble for something that I couldn't control, something that I had no ability to do. So that really changes the dynamics within. It makes you have to, when you start going back and trying to take the skills you learn, when you get your little toolbox together of all the different little things that you've got so that you can start working on yourself, you got to go back and go, oh, how do I forgive somebody who literally knew I had a problem and disciplined me in ways that were inappropriate for that disability? I was born disabled. I was born not to hear and chose to overcome that without knowledge of my limitation. When they hear the concept, you're only as limited as you believe. I didn't believe I was limited. The reason I read last week about the frog who was deaf and climbed the tree, because he thought everyone else was praising him to his success, as they were really worried for him to not do it. How many times in my life did I manage to do something because I couldn't hear those words being said to me? Oh, you can't do that. Oh, that's not. I was like, oh, I've already defeated that one. That for me became, I had already dealt with that years ago. They told me I couldn't play the violin. I learned to play it. Told me I couldn't play the viola. I learned to play it. Told me I couldn't write a book. And I did it. Tell me I can't, and I'll show you I can. I'll find the way to it. We're only as limited as we believe. Can't never did anything. That is one thing my father said to me over and over again as I was growing up, that I will give that man credit for. He was right. Can't never did anything because can't doesn't get up. Can't sits back and makes excuses for itself. So the one thing I can give my father is that he taught me that can't never did a thing. And when I said I can't because I couldn't hear, he pushed my limit and made me better than what it was supposed to be. So it was hard, it was rough. But he gave me a gift to overcome. Over, under, around, or through, there ain't anything I can't do. It became my motto in life. Over, under, around, or through, there ain't anything I can't do. There ain't anything you can't do. What do you want to do? That's what this class is about. When you take an ultimate self-care, when you begin building your life, what is it that you want? I want you to sit with that for just a moment. And I'm not going to say anything.
Darla, while you're
Yes.
sitting in silence there, I want to send some money to you and Joe, $100, and hopefully that will help alleviate a little bit of the costs involved with your new hearing aids, because I know that they're very expensive. And you've
Yes,
given
they
so
are.
much to me. I wish it could be a lot more, but I do want to do that for you. So touch base with me after and we'll arrange the details. Okay.
Anything will help. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. So in that silence, for some people, silence is very uncomfortable. Who felt uncomfortable sitting in that silence? And who absolutely loved it? For me, the silence is normal. If there ain't nobody around and there's no sounds, that's just what it's like for me. Just peace and quiet. I didn't realize how many people don't ever get that until I put these things in my ears yesterday, and the world has not stopped until I took them out last night. And it was like, I stood in the bathroom for a minute after I took them out. It's like, oh, it's silent again. Ah, I was like, my brain wasn't active. It was still trying to file sounds though. I mean, there's new sounds. I don't even know what happened. I'm like, what's that? What's that? I'm like, ooh, it's a whole new world. I'm like a kid again, like about getting in touch with that inner child. She's like, ooh, let's go listen to the water. Oh, what's that bird? Ooh, what kind of bird is that? What's this? Like, I really have lit up into that inner child going, let's play with sound. I mean, I would be the one. Joe's son was playing with a little poppet thing for, it's a fidgeter. And all I can hear is pop, 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 pop. And it didn't even bother me. I was like, oh, I can hear that. When he was playing with it the day before I got the hearing aids, it sounded like thump, 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 thump. Totally different sound. It didn't even bother you. I was like, not even a noticeable sound the day before. Yesterday, I could hear it. It's just pop, 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 pop. And I was like, what are you, oh, you've been playing with that for days. I didn't even notice that sound before. Totally different. I mean, it's just extraordinary. In that time, though, while we were silent, I want to start with Matthew. You look so inquisitive right now and so involved in this, where we're at. When I asked you to stop and think in the silence what you really want, what did you tune into?
For me, it was like, what do I want? Like, I want to teach. I want to send a positive wave around the world. I want to travel around the world with my wife and my kids and stuff. Like, I have a lot of those I want things in me. It always comes back to what service I can provide to get to those wants, though, and that always bounces into my head then, and then it starts to align with what I need to do to get there. But to keep on the subject of what do I want, it's just to be and love life. It really is. Every moment I wake up, I'm just truly grateful and thankful for being here for another day to dream, another day to approach what it is that I feel I need to do, which in most cases, like get my wife her first cup of coffee. It's like getting on these things and teaching or being with people that want to learn and want to grow and want to be. And to me, that's such a magnificent gift. And I understand like that feeling of not hearing, because when there's background noise, I don't hear. I lose like 75–80% of my hearing with any background noise. So I had the same issues as you in school. Like I would always get in trouble for things. I was like, I didn't know.
Yeah, you lose it. You lose that.
And when
And
you
you have no
realize,
will.
and when you realize it, you just have to go to that center place, that vibrational piece. And that's where I've thrived only recently, getting in touch with that. And that's what I want more of, is feeling that emptiness fill with that peace, because I have been there, and it can suck being alone and you're being the only one knowing what's going on, but not being able to reach out because no one else understands you, so you think. And yet we can all be empathetic to one another in this room even, and understand that if we approach it from that heart-centered piece, that love, that self-love, then boom, things open up.
Exactly. Kathy, I'm going to go to you.
Yeah. Well, I have a 3-year-old, so all I was thinking about was annoying noises that because you really don't know, like it's so funny. Hold on. We take so much for granted, like hearing. And it's just something that we do every day, and we don't think anything of it. But like I was thinking about how, like my honey, he likes to listen to music really loud, and stop me. And then, I got a 3-year-old who's like, not right now, baby. But like when you've had a long day with a 3-year-old, Peppa Pig and Number Blocks and all those little kid shows, and like they get so redundant, and I'm like, so he'll come home, he's had a hard day, he just wants to listen to this music and chill, and I'm like, shh. So I was thinking, like, how nice and lucky you can just tink.
Unplug from the world.
Yeah. But also going back to what I want, I hate that question. Everybody always asks me that question, and I'm always just like, I don't know, because I always think I know what I want, and then I'm like, but do I really want that? But so I always try to equate it to something that I really love and that makes me happy. And I've lived all over. Like I've lived in Germany, I've lived in Pennsylvania, New Mexico, Colorado, Texas, Hawaii, and now Florida. And I love that. Like I love living in a new place and adapting to the culture of that place and meeting new people, and and I'm like, and I'm always the happiest, that like I have a gypsy soul, I guess you could say. So I always think that is what would really, maybe I need to get a van and be a gypsy.
Hey, everything and everything works. Whatever really, what makes your heart sing? That's who we are. Shayna.
Thank you, Darla, first of all, for sharing what you're experiencing right now and sharing that moment with us. That's really that's really a beautiful thing. And I'm just really grateful to be part of that, and for you opening up to us about your experience. For me, I just want to continue to evolve. I'm just like finally falling in love with it. I wasn't like really in love with it because I went through some really difficult shit in the last few years and it wasn't nice, but I really feel like I love it right now, and I'll probably go back to not liking it as much at some point, but for now I love it, and I just want it. I want to continue to evolve, and I want to just be as focused as I feel right now in my life. Like it's just not feeling like I'm not the same person as I was in January is pretty amazing. You know, just like just a real big shift for me and a lot of realizations that I'm just grateful for. So I'm just happy to be here with you guys and to be focused and to have people that support me on my journey. It's really helping me to step into a space of, yes, I am a single parent, and yes, I still can achieve my dreams. No matter what the blocks that may come up, I'm gonna handle it. I had some roadblocks come up this morning. I had, my truck that I'm renting out. I had a renter that I trust and has been a regular guest of mine return the truck late. I had somebody else picking up. It was a scramble. I was outside sweating, getting it ready for the next person, but I communicated and I just handled it all in grace and it all worked out. I did report the issue of the late return. I'm going to rescind it because I don't want to deter this guest from renting from me again in the future, but I did want to send him a solid message of, when I say 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, or whatever time I say, I mean that fucking time,
Exactly.
So period. It's in business, it's like that. Like I wasn't getting a hold of him, so I didn't know if things are okay. But anyway, back to the main point is I just want to stay focused. I'm really like the time that I'm putting into structuring my business correctly and consulting with an accountant and doing all these little finite, like seems like minute busy work that's really not getting you anywhere. Doing it now is really going to allow me to grow later. So I'm able to like see it from the 30,000 foot view right now, and it's really exciting to me because I can see how one step will lead to another. I'm not like freaking out about the cost of marketing, and I think for me at least, the cost of marketing as an upfront overhead is just like, fuck, that's a lot of money. It can be depending on the industry you're in. And but if it costs that much to get you to this much, it's just like shifting my mindset on that. So the focus is really there. I'm dialed in, I'm tuned in, tapped and turned on, all of that.
Awesome.
Most of the time. And it's a really cool feeling. So I'm glad to share that with you guys, and thank you.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Kim.
The question, what do I want?
What do you really want?
Oh, I want a delicious partner like you and Joe have. That's what I want more than anything.
It's out
And
there.
so yeah. You guys are trailblazers for me. So I kind of had a ringside seat from the very beginning of the two of you connecting and growing together. And so I'm creating the same thing for myself.
I have
Similar thing.
I have to say something to everyone. Dr. Kim loves me so much. that she was so concerned when I was being secretive to who I was actually communicating with. She was like, Darla, it's not okay to have an online relationship. Darla, I'm really concerned for you. And she literally was like, the mother hen pulled me underneath her wing and was like, no one will hurt her. I love you for that, Dr. Kim, because you really did have the best interest in mind. And I'd never done anything online, not connecting online like that. So having someone who really is wise enough to know, I had to like divulge information to her so that she knew I was safe. And it was like, we're not really anything yet. We're just talking. I don't know if he's going to be okay with me saying anything. And I was like, but she was so wonderful to really make sure. And I have to say that when you get those people in your life that really take a moment and really give those warning cues, listen, pay attention, and see why they're doing it. It's because they really care.
Mm.
And I appreciate you, Kim, for really caring that much to make sure I was really okay and that I was making the right decisions. When I was telling her, I was like, oh no, I know it's all good. It's all good. Don't worry. And she's like, now I'm really worried because I was way too confident over it. You know, I was like talking about going and traveling, and she's going, you don't know this person. She was afraid I was going to get catfished. And no, it was
And
actually me.
insisting you've got to go see him to know for sure you've got to go see
She
him.
totally flipped script when she found out who. Because she trusted the energy there as well, as much as I was already like, she was like, oh, okay, I'm on board. Let's do this. But I absolutely appreciate those that have been in my life, who have been my warning calls because I might not know the right or the wrong decision because I just follow my good little heart, and it's landed me in some really ugly places. And she was just right there as such my friend to really guide and be there for me, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Darla.
You're welcome. Lorraine, what is your big wish? What do you want? You really, really want it.
I just want my family to be healthy and happy, as well as me. As you know, my father passed away a couple of months ago now. And since then, almost immediately after he passed, my mom went into the hospital for heart surgery. She's still not home. She's been transferred to a hospice care where she's receiving therapy. So we haven't even had a chance to begin to be a family again without my father in it. And I still don't know what that is going to look like when she does come home and how things are going to be. Because right now there's me, my sister, and my mom that are left in my city. My son is coming next week for a visit during his days off. He recently moved to just the next province over. And my brother's down south. Fortunately, we were able to have a family reunion before my dad passed. So it was good to have everybody together again. But, you know, with regards to normal life starting when my mom gets back, I just want to make sure like she's going to be okay, that the three of us girls that are left here, you know, two sisters and a mom, are all going to be okay moving on into the next chapter. You know, my sister, she has a couple of minor health problems. I've got a couple of minor things. My mom's, you know, she's fortunately starting to recover now and doing much better. I mean, it's only been 5.5, not even five, about 5.5 weeks now. 5.5 weeks exactly. So, and I kind of figured at her age, she'll be 76 in a couple of days. So I kind of figured it was going to, you know, take at least 6 to 8 weeks for her to really sort of get back on her feet. And it seems like that's exactly what's happening. But, you know, when she gets home, we don't know what the next coming months are going to be like. So, still adjusting, still adjusting. I never realized what a huge impact my father had on me. So I really miss him.
And those are going to come in waves, hon. That's going to always come in waves. You're right where you're supposed to be. So don't beat yourself up when you get emotional. Because you know
Yeah,
what?
there's
was
yeah,
a-
there's
Go ahead.
on top of mom's surgery, there's been my eye surgery for the last 2 weeks. I had both of my eyes operated on, and so I'm still dealing with that and the new changes that are involved with that, because now I don't have to wear glasses full time because my vision's been corrected from the cataract surgery and the lenses that they implanted in my eyes. But I also need glasses to read close up. So I'm kind of, adjusting to figuring out like, well, I got to carry these glasses around with me now, or put them on a string around my neck so that they're always handy. And, and that's like just new habits that I have to adapt to and form. And so
You're
there's just,
creating.
it's just like one thing after another after another. And then, one of the cats I inherited from my dad, she's diabetic, so she needs insulin injections every 12 hours now. And
Mhm.
for the last 2 weeks and then the upcoming 4, I've got to do drops in my eyes at a certain schedule, 4 times a day for 2 weeks and then 2 times a day for 2 weeks. And so it's like 6 weeks of eye drops. So everything just seems to be all happening at once, and it doesn't feel like I'm actually living life because I'm so caught up with all these other things going on, and everything is like a major thing almost, it feels like.
Well, I have
So
a question for you, Lorraine. In that space where you're at right now, do you feel that right now taking care of your vision and doing the things for yourself was ultimate self-care in the process of seeing how others haven't taken care of things and that they have come to the spaces that they're all are at in their life due to those places that they neglected for themselves?
well, I do think that doing all the right things for my health and my vision and my mom's health, we are doing all the right things, and so we are all involved in the ultimate self-care. And I honestly wish I could have had this surgery years ago, because now that I don't have to wear glasses full time, I'm going to be able to start wearing makeup again because it's not going to be obscured by the glasses. I'm looking forward to sort of creating a new version of myself, maybe, losing some weight, maybe getting a new hairstyle, starting to wear
You're just
makeup.
creating a whole new Lorraine
Like
out of
it,
love.
yeah. And it's, I'm really looking, like, I'm happy about that because lately it seems like I'm getting more gray hair and I don't like that. And so I'm thinking, like I need to, maybe color it, get a new style, start wearing makeup, feel better, look better. Every time you feel like you look better, you always feel better, right? So I'm just, in a sense, I'm really excited for the future and, helping my mom navigate her new life as well. So yeah, so I mean it is an exciting time. It's just that we've just had to deal with, like, one of the other ladies on the call was saying, like, there's so much crap we've had to deal with in our past, and now it's time to just keep evolving. And that's where I feel like I'm at too. Like I feel like I'm continuing to evolve into a better version of myself, and it is really wonderful. And I thank you for walking along with me during this journey, because you have played such an incredible part in helping me deal with my father my feelings towards him and helping us resolve some of our stuff before he died, that I never in a million years thought that I would be this at peace with everything. And I couldn't have done it without you. So I will never forget you for that, darling. Thank you.
It is really a pleasure to be able to walk with you, to walk with anyone. Really, people are like, oh, you're a life coach. Oh, what do you do? Oh, I help people. And they go, oh, well, how are you going to help me? It's not me doing any of it. It's me holding the space for you while you begin developing it and help to give you keys to discovering who you are.
But you provide the support and the strength that most people like can't even imagine that they need. Because I too, like, I don't need a life coach. I don't need any kind of coaching. Like, I've got this. Like, I've survived so much crap in my life, from rape, abuse, drug addiction, quitting school, gambling addictions, this and that, prostitution, so much shit. And I've come out on top all by myself, that I never thought like, oh, well, like, I got it in my head, like, I don't need anybody. And it's like, wait a minute, you know what? Everybody needs people. And to have somebody in your corner who loves and supports you unconditionally is the most amazing thing in the world. And so, what you do is you empower people, and that's not an easy thing to do. So kudos to you for your talents and your gifts and for sharing them with the world.
Right there, what I want to say real quick, Lorraine, is everyone has somebody that they look up to. And years ago, when I didn't have anything, I looked up to Mary Kay. I don't even wear makeup, but this was a woman who literally opened the door in 1963 for women's lib, for women to rise up, to become who they were really, truly supposed to be, so that they were no longer suppressed during an era when women were suppressed. Her entire motto for the business was to help to enrich and empower women to their success. That was what the whole business was about. And then later on, she expanded it and also opened it to men when she finally got over her own hurt. But she had a space where she was hurt and she couldn't. And then she finally opened it up before she passed on. One of the greatest things I ever heard her say in one of the meetings that I listened to, that somebody was interviewing her. And somebody had said, well, why do you always tend to make people feel so special? You really make it evident that people need to speak, to you, directly to you. And you really pay attention to, she goes, God didn't have time to make a nobody. He only had time to make a somebody. And you are that somebody. And I finally felt like a somebody and no longer a nobody. Those words were what resonated inside of me, that God didn't have time to make a nobody. I was always passed by. I was always not listening. I was not able to attend. I couldn't pay attention. My focus wasn't there. I always felt like I was nobody. I was always chose last. I was never first. So I always felt like that nobody and that I didn't matter. And when I found out that the truth was that God didn't have time to make a nobody, he only had time to make a somebody, and that somebody was me. It rearranged the entire dynamics of my life and made me realize that every single one of those people that pushed me away, it was my responsibility to go back and give them what I wished that I had. Because then I was actually making the difference. The difference starts with us. So if you're waiting for somebody else to stand up, it ain't gonna happen. But before I take on to the last, I want Joe to have a space. What is it that you want, Joe? When you really, really think about it, what do you really want?
Ah, there we go. As I sat in that moment of silence, what came to me was it would be amazing for the world to start opening up to the idea that they can live and do from their heart space. And it truly does start with finding that time to sit in that silence and being brave enough to follow that guidance, to follow that heart's desire, whatever that message is for you. And I mean, part of me thinks that's why you are who you are, because you have sat in that silence for so long. All you've done was listen to that heart and followed it through all the crap you've been through. Like Lorraine, you women are powerful and don't realize it and rise above so much. And I'm sure most of that comes from finding that heart space, from listening to that desire, from listening and being brave enough to follow that message, to take just that little itty bitty step, one step in front of another, and you start that new journey. So it would be amazing just for people to even consider the idea, not even just do it, but just consider the idea. Allow that seed to be planted, allow that path to start being walked when said person is ready. Yeah.
Matthew said, become aware.
Yes.
And Kim, I want to come back to you. I want you to close out today, if you're available. Maybe, maybe not. It's okay. So if she comes back, I'll let her close out. Everyone here today, I want you guys to really take and ask yourself this week, what have I neglected to do for myself that really is the ultimate self-care that I should have done a long time ago? And begin doing it. No matter how big of a venture it is, no matter how hard, but begin developing where you want to go with it and how it's going to serve you. Because ultimately, if we don't love ourselves enough to take care of the things that we need to take care of ourselves, to be able to be our best version of ourselves, how dare we think that we can help another if we're not helping ourselves? That was what I realized. I have been working out of an area of 30%. 30. And here I am changing lives. As Lorraine, thank you, Lorraine. That is the biggest gift for me right there, knowing that I've helped transform and rearrange your life, that I could walk with you to do that. That's what I enjoy doing every single day. I get up every morning and go, who can I help today? Here I am. Use me to be that for someone. That's what I get up every day. That is what I get up and I'm like, I am so absolutely grateful. And people think that, I've had people tell me, why do you care so much about helping so many people? Because there were so many people along the way that helped me when I didn't know how to help myself. And it's my gift back to the world. So ask yourself, what is it for you that you need to do this week, next month, however long it takes, that you're actually tuning in, tapping in, and turning on to the fact that you're going to give yourself the ultimate self-love so that you can truly turn around and love another. So I'm going to end right there. It's at the top of the hour. I wish you all a wonderful, grand, adventurous week. And I will be posting things all week about different sounds, different things in my adventure into this new world. Thank you all for the support and the love I get here. I love you all.
Love you too, Darla.
Thank you all.
Mm.